Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. Gene, glad to have you here this early in the morning. I decided to just kind of start this off basically half hour early. Just because my timing is off and I have several things that I need to take care of today. So glad to have you here. And yeah, there's been some changes over the last, well, not over the last couple days, but just over the last couple days. I've been looking to see what was changed with MobileX, and just kind of looking through their website and seeing what's going on. And of course, telling you guys, those that are interested, like how the service has been so far since switching back over to them. And I want to discuss those changes and what I think of the service so far. And it's pretty interesting. And wow, this bug got me. Dang room. The heck. That was like came out of nowhere. Probably slipped in because I have my window open and there's not a screen in front of it. So must have gotten through there. Oh well. It is what it is. So first off, how is your day going so far? Secondly, you'll see a Q&A question thing that's kind of going on. If you want to go ahead and answer that, that's pretty cool. But yeah. So anyhow, I mean, MobileX service. It's one of those weird things that I kind of go through, right? So I kind of it's kind of like shifted, right? Like I was on Google Fi, I've been on Boost Mobile, been on MobileX, went back to Google Fi, used Google Fi for a good length of time, switched over to US Mobile, switched over to Visible, switched back over to MobileX. So why do I keep landing, I'm back on MobileX? I mean, honestly, I just like the idea that there's this flexibility that you have with MobileX. Um, they offer, two different tier, what they call quote unlimited plans. Then they have a build your own custom plan, and then there's an AI that they have, and that's the real magic behind MobileX. I think people kind of forget to mention when they discuss MobileX. Like they discuss the plans, they discuss, the service network that they're on using. They discuss that, but no one really talks about the AI model they have that basically. For what it does is it literally looks at your usage within a small window and calculates an estimate of like what you would use in a month to give you an idea of how you're using your phone. On top of that, if you're paying too much for service, that's really what it is. And I know today that most people are just so comfortable with that safety net. They're so comfortable with just being able to say that they have unlimited data. They have unlimited talk and text. But I don't think anyone really stops to ask themselves, but like, why do they need unlimited if maybe they're making a few phone calls, like maybe like under 10 phone calls in a month? Maybe they send, 2 or 3 text messages in a month. So then really, where are you benefiting from unlimited? And this is like, people can always come back with that thing, right? Where it's like, oh, but it's like having a pew pew. I'd rather have one and not need it than need it and not have one. True, if your lifestyle on a monthly basis is all over the place, but if you're always consistently using like, let's say 60 minutes of, phone calls, maybe you're doing like 100 text messages a month, and that's all you really do in a 12-month period, then why again pay so much for phone service? Because that's today everything costs so much. I think that's really my standpoint on a lot of things, and the reason why that I back MobileX to that extent is that everything costs so much out there today. Like we have what's called, this new phrase called shrinkflation. If you don't know what that is, Google it and look at it. I mean, it's the craziest thing, but it's absolutely true, right? Like for instance, you look at a Pop Tart, find an image of a Pop Tart from like 1995 and compare it to a Pop Tart today, and you're gonna see a drastic difference in like the size, the thickness, the filling, and the icing on it. It's so different. Um, chicken biscuit to you would be like a nice medium-sized sandwich for breakfast, and you go to Wendy's and it's like the size of a cookie and it costs $7 for that. I mean, we're paying so much, and you know, as the cost of, you know, labor goes up, the cost of living goes up. And I think that's like one of the other things too, that when it comes to finances, that, is it's like, when people are like screaming and chanting and they're like, "Oh my God, we're gonna get minimum wage moved up." I never get excited for that. I never get excited for minimum wage rising, because when minimum wage goes up, corporate America feels like that prices on their products can go up because you're making more. Like, it's such a stupid concept. It's like we're running on a hamster wheel and we're trying to catch something that we're never gonna get our hands on. So many people are like, "Yeah, I would rather, not make 7.25 an hour at McDonald's as a starting off job. I want to make $15 an hour." And everyone supports that because obviously in everyone's mind we're hardwired to believe that more is better. And so everyone just like champions for it. Like, "Yeah, screw the establishment. Pay us 15 an hour instead of 7.25. We want minimum wage at 15 an hour." And everyone agrees. But no one really thinks about what corporate America is going to, do to respond to that change. So if you have minimum wage go up, then cost of living is going to go up, right? Your favorite grocery outlets are going to start jacking up the prices on things. Your the rent in your city is going to go up, and the reason why is because corporate America is going to say, "Oh, you should be able to afford this. You just moved up from 7.25 an hour to 15 an hour, so you should afford this now." And it's like, no, because as let's say there's this marginal gap between what you make and what is cost of living for comfortability. People's perception is that when you get a raise, when minimum wage goes up, basically, not a raise. Let me rephrase that. If minimum wage goes up for you, you think, okay, now we've caught up to where we can make money that lets us live comfortably. But what people don't understand is that while you move up, corporate America moves up too. So you're still in the same spot you were in before. Nothing has really changed other than the dollar amounts for products, goods, and services versus what you make minimum wage on a paycheck. This is why having a trade and having, skills is so very important, because that is what brings you up without raising the cost of living for you. Is by having a skill set, a trade, a certificate, something that tells corporate America, you can't pay me any less than this because I am qualified to work in your industry doing this job at this price. There's the area that you want to increase, not asking the government to freaking raise minimum wage, because that's just shifting everything up. You want to beat the system, you got to get a trade, a skill set, or something that says, pay me at this dollar amount because I will not work no less than this. And I'm sorry, but an entry-level job is not a skill set or a trade. It's an entry-level job. Nothing wrong with it. I'm not, putting it down. I'm just saying. Why am I talking all this this financial jargon? Because it's the reason why I back MobileX. MobileX gives what, what people would want, and to some degree, right? $25, 30 gigs of priority data, unlimited talk and text. $15, 10 gigs of priority data, unlimited talk and text. You have those options. But then, if you, break the cycle, you'll realize if you're not using a whole lot, why are you paying for a whole lot? I mean, MobileX has done a lot of things to make things comfortable for people. Even if you were to switch to the build your own plan, people get like, well, what if I use more than what I normally do? What if I use 2 more gigabytes than what I normally would use in a month? That's why they have an option to add. Like, let's break it down. Let's break it down. Okay, so there have been some changes to MobileX, and I will point those changes out from what it was before when I was last using their services. Okay, but you see these things right here where it says build your own plan, from just $3.48 a month, right? Which is like the very bare minimum of like usage. You can have a bill almost as low as $3.48. Okay, let's be real. And so yeah, the first thing that they want to highlight is their AI forecaster. This is an amazing tool. Is it 100% accurate? No, it's not 100% accurate. But for the most part, if you're a heavy data user, it's going to tell you that. That's the crazy thing about it. But once, in it's either in 10 days or when you use 10 gigs. Okay, whichever comes first. So you either get 10 days of free service on MobileX, or when you hit 10 gigs, it pretty much has gathered enough information to make an assessment of like what your 30-day usage looks like. And if you're not using a lot of data, it's going to let you know. Like if you're always on home Wi-Fi, that's the thing that people kind of forget. They want unlimited everything. And they're not really using it because when they're at home, they're on Wi-Fi. When they go to work, they're at the work company's Wi-Fi. So if that's the case, if they're at work on the work company's Wi-Fi and they're at home and they're on home Wi-Fi, and the only time they're really using mobile data is in between the commute from work to home and home to work. I should have flipped that around backwards, but anyways, then that would be like the only time really that someone would be using mobile data. Maybe they're listening to a podcast, connected by Bluetooth to their car so they can listen on the drive home to their favorite podcast, or maybe they got a playlist, like a playlist when you're going to work and a playlist of music when you're going home from work to just kind of help set the mood for when you get home. Like everyone lives their life the way they want to live it. But what I'm trying to say is that that's the only time really you're really using mobile data. And not everybody in the United States is a content creator. Not everybody is like, oh yeah, I just got off an 8-hour shift at work today. Let me live stream on social media. Like, no, those are influencers and content creators. And there's a difference between the two. And I'll probably talk about that in the future. But, to be realistic on things, not everybody is a content creator. Not everybody's an influencer. So they're not live streaming on their way home. And even then, live streaming doesn't really use a whole lot, which is something interesting that I'm going to tell you guys at the end of this podcast. So pay attention closely, because there's some heavy hitter news that I've been looking into for the better part of 3 years now, and I can confidently say something at the end of this podcast. So keep it locked. If you're enjoying the content so far, please hit the like button. I appreciate it. But anyways, so you got this AI forecaster, which is a very, very nifty tool, and like one of the main core things that I want people to understand about MobileX, like besides the plans, besides the flexibility, the AI forecaster, because it's not only just like a one-time thing. As a matter of fact, while you're using your services after you've got, let's say, like it's offered you a plan that's about like $8 a month, right? Says that maybe you only use like 2 gigs of data, and maybe you only really need like 150 minutes of talk, or 150 text messages, and so your bill's like around $8. But maybe you're starting to use more in the last 30 days. You're starting to use more. The AI forecasters in background, and the coolest thing now about MobileX is that in the app there's a notification where it even tells you that it notices that you're not really doing a whole lot. Like I've gotten a message the other day because I have home Wi-Fi, so my Pixel 10 is on. First of all, the Pixel 10 is my primary phone, and I've flipped around the SIM. So Visible is in the Pixel 7, which is what I use for like live streaming and content creating on the go. But the Pixel 10 is my main daily driver device, and the MobileX SIM is in my Pixel 10, which means that the MobileX line is my main phone number. Yeah, switched it around. And yeah, I'm happy that way. But anyways, I got a message the other day because I'm on home Wi-Fi. When I'm at home, I'm on Wi-Fi at home. I mean, I'm using it because I'm paying for it. So it gave me a notification message, and it was like, hey, we noticed that you're not really using a lot of data, or maybe your SIM is incorrectly provisioned, please double check and make sure that your settings are correct for APN settings, because like the app, the AI is looking at my usage. It's not looking at what I'm looking at or what I'm doing on my phone. It's just looking at the usage. So like currently right now, hang on, let me share with you guys real quick. I just gotta make sure it doesn't show any private information when I log in. But anyhow, let's go there real quick. Okay, so like the pinwheel's loading. I think that's one thing that I would ask MobileX to do, their app engineers, is to create a dark mode. Yeah, because I keep my phone in dark mode so you guys can see more. But anyways, right now, I've only used, right now I have 49.51 gigabytes of data left. Okay, in the beginning when I started the services, I had 50 gigs of data, and now I'm only at 49.5. So that's not a whole lot. That's like what, 500 megabytes of usage, roughly, give or take. And so yeah, they're like, hey, why aren't you using the data? Because that is the point when you have a metered data amount, right? The point of data is to be used. And, it's to be used when you're not on Wi-Fi at home. Because that was the original plan when it came to smartphones and it came to mobile technology. It was like, you're going to be able to use your phone service at home. You're going to be able to use it when you're out and about. But the initial idea that all these companies had was, people have Wi-Fi at home. They have computers, they have smart TVs, they have laptops. So a lot of these companies are looking at it from this perspective of like, oh, you have all this stuff. So yeah, let's offer this plan because you're going to be on Wi-Fi at home. What they didn't count on was that people were going to end up using services for everything that they do at home, including replacing home Wi-Fi. This is one of the things that Visible kind of battles on a daily. There are people who subscribe to Visible by Verizon because the plan is $25 a month, and they are running their phone like they have a bunch of IoTs connected to the hotspot on their phone. And then people wonder why their phone is running hot. Well, when you have your computer connected to it, your laptop connected to it, your smart TV connected to it, your smart speakers connected to it, yeah, that's going to heat the phone up as its hotspot is deploying signal for all these IoTs to connect and have data services, which is not what it's intended for. Like, yes, I know the argument today has changed when it comes to using a cell phone provider data for home Wi-Fi, because we have things like T-Mobile Home Internet, Verizon Home Internet, AT&T Air Internet, which is fixed wireless access internet connection, right? Which is used for Wi-Fi, but for like your smartphone to act as a Wi-Fi gateway was not intended or built to be that way. Like those gateways you get from T-Mobile, AT&T, or Verizon, they are designed with antennas to be able to put out a signal that is meant for IoTs to connect to. Your hotspot antenna on your device is meant for short moments of a connection, not for long term. Not for you to game Call of Duty on your PC with your PC connected to your smartphone with the hotspot. And so yeah, there's the confusion and the difference between a lot of things when it comes down to what MNOs and MVNOs are thinking versus the consumer. Consumers, because you look at it all the time, consumers' argumentative point is it's supposed to be unlimited. I'm paying for unlimited. Why can't I use the data that I want to use it? And that's their argumentative point, is like, I pay for unlimited, so I should be able to use my data however I want. And on the flip side of it, corporate MNO and MVNOs are saying that, yes, this is mobile cell phone service, mobile phone cell phone service. Keyword there, mobile phone, not, home internet replacement. And that's where the standoff happens. And right now, that argument is in a stalemate. Both sides make some very compelling argumentative points. But it's really up to you on which side that you rock with. Do you rock with, consumers and it's unlimited data? I should use it the way that I want to. I pay for it, or do the MNOs have, the weight on their side, which their argument is like, yes, it's unlimited data for your smartphone, keyword smartphone, not for your IoTs, and so it's not to replace home internet. You guys comment. Let me know what you guys think on that question. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. But anyhow, so yeah, you have the ability and the flexibility there. Now, this is a promo right now, right here. Okay, so this is not to be expected to be like guaranteed for the future, which is these are the two unlimited, quote unquote, unlimited plans that MobileX is offering. Okay, $14.88 and $24.88. Why? Think about the 88 in these prices. The reason why it's that way is because one of their partners is Walmart. And if you go to a Walmart, you see the little, the little price signs on those bins in the aisles when you're walking, and they're like, $6.88 for this hoodie. It's on sale or it's been rolled back. By the way, you guys notice that Walmart doesn't really push that whole rollback anymore? Like, I haven't seen a Walmart talk about we roll back prices anymore. It's such a different time and place, and I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm in my 40s. I've seen a lot, so I remember a lot. I don't know. But anyhow, yeah, so Walmart is one of their partners, so that's why the pricing is $14.88 and $24.88. And no, taxes and fees are not included. And we can sit here and have this argument about taxes and fees included on certain, providers, and why can't MobileX do the same thing? And it's like, it's a dead argument. People only want to like project what they think, and they don't want to listen to what other people think. I can sit here and debate people on it. Just be like, yeah, it's taxes and fees included, is an unfair standpoint in my opinion, because, if California's taxes is $10 and you're paying for a $50 plan on a taxes and fees included type plan, means you're actually only paying $40 for the plan, because the $10 difference between 40 and 50 is the actual taxes. But if you go to a place like New York, maybe the tax out of $50, the tax section is $5. So that means that you're paying $45 for a plan and then $5 in taxes. You don't see that because they're not going to break that down to you guys, because they know if they were transparent and broke it down for everyone to see, we would see exactly how unfair it is. If like this state only pays $30 for the same plan you have in your state, you pay $15 more because the taxes are different. So no one really sees that. And these companies, they're smart. They know that. They know that, oh yeah, they're never going to know, because we're not going to ever break that down to them. Because all we have to do is say taxes and fees included, and they're going to love it, because that was one of the things in the early days of MNOs and prepaids and MVNOs was taxes. People hated taxes. I know. I worked, customer care for companies like Sprint, Verizon, Boost Mobile, and MobileX at a time. And that's one thing that you would always hear, either on a daily basis or an every other day basis. Someone is upset about the taxes. And there are even people who thought that these companies charge the tax and put the tax in their pocket. And I have to explain to people like, no, this is a state government charge. If you don't like it, take it up with your local representatives, your senator, your governor, your mayor. Like, you got to take that up with them, because we have nothing to do with that. We just have to charge those prices to you, which is our services. And then we have to charge the taxes from your state on that services, because the company pays that to the state and federal government. Simple. Just simple. Follow the dots. Yeah. So there you have it. So, for me, here where I live at, with the taxes that they charge, I'm paying, $24.88 for the, the top offered unlimited plan through the app, and then $1.18 in taxes. So my total bill is $26.06 every month. That's what it's going to be. And I can drop down. I could drop down to the 1588 10 gig plan, because if I'm always on home Wi-Fi and, rarely using a lot of data away from home, then that $15 10 gig plan is pretty decent. And both of them come with 10 gigabytes of hotspot. So if I ever needed to connect my laptop for services, then yeah, go ahead, One of the changes though that I can point out right now is the standard and the priority gold network access. Okay, so really what that is, it's not about per se the 5G in that context where it's like, if you're getting a mid-band if you're getting mid-band or low band or millimeter wave connection, it's not really per se to that. I mean, that is part of it, but what it's actually saying is like I've said before, I've always used traveling on the highway as the best way to explain it, because it is it's like a form of network slicing, if that makes any sense. And for those people who know what that terminology is, but basically, in a nutshell, and in layman's terms, you and 4 other cars are driving down a 4-lane interstate. You guys are going all in the same direction. Okay, the farthest to the right lane is like the exit, like coming to an exit, and the slow lane, right? So you'll reduce your speeds. You won't, you'll probably be at speed limit or maybe 5 miles per hour under speed limit. Okay, the lane to the left of that, it's a little bit faster, but geared towards going into the slow lane. So it's like a lane that allows you to have, decent speeds as you're going to exit. Okay, well, let's say that, right? So like medium speeds. And then to the left of that is fast speeds. Okay, so those are the 3: fast, medium, and low speeds. Those 3 lanes. But then there's a 4th lane, right? The 4th lane is the one to the farthest left. Here in my state, it's called the HOV lane. In Hawaii, it's called the zipper lane. Wherever your state calls it, but it's that one lane where like there's credentials you have to have, right? Like some states require you have to have a carpool to be in that lane because you have to bypass a lot of traffic to get to work on time. Other states, require that you actually have to pay the state for access to that lane. Like in California, they have those types of things where you have to pay for access to that lane. If you go in that lane and you don't have the access to it, Highway Patrol can pull you over and issue you a ticket. So just depends on your state, but it's the fastest, right? And that's what this standard access and then gold network priority access is. Standard access gives you access to all 3 lanes, whether it's the slowest lane, the kind of medium fast lane, or the really fast lane. But the priority access gold network is that far HOV lane that just like gives you better latency and fast downlink and uplink speeds. And that's really what it is. And you have the choice whether you want to have that or if you just are good with the standard access. And I can tell you guys right now, I'm on the standard access. I'm not paying for priority gold network access, and my access is just fine. I really wouldn't know if there was, there was anything that would kind of like cramp my connection, unless I was in a congested area. I rarely frequent areas that are superly congested. I mean, like, I know that I would probably feel the pinch of the standard access connectivity if I went to like a concert, but I don't really go to concerts. I mean, if I want to enjoy my favorite rock band's music, I just go to YouTube Music and watch there. If I really want to see some visuals, then I'll watch music videos. I grew up on a generation that, was about music videos and MTV, and shout out to MTV as they are officially gone. That was kind of sad to hear that MTV shut down, because I used to love watching music videos. I mean, I grew up in that generation. My kids today don't understand that because they look at me weird when I put on like Linkin Park and I'm just like watching a music video. They're like, what is this and what is it about? And then they try to solve it. I'm like, it's just a little visual video play to just kind of like, emphasize the song, but the song is really what everyone's listening to. And you have like these little visuals, little storytelling and stuff like that, like Gorillaz. I love the Gorillaz music videos because it all connects. All of it connects like a movie. So it's super cool. But anyways, I digress. That's not getting off topic. Yeah, so that's what priority and gold network access is. Okay, and then you have the ability to build your own plan. So this is where the structure kind of comes in, right? You have the talk and text packages. So this is 50 minutes and 50 texts for $1.50 a month. You can do 150 minutes and 150 texts for $2.50 a month. Or you can go fully unlimited talk and text for just $4.50 a month. Right, so you would choose one of these options, and then you would purchase the data that you need. And MobileX has the cheapest cost per gigabyte of data usage. It just does. So you look at Google Fi Wireless, and it's $10 per gig. You look at Helium Mobile, it's $7.50 per gig. Other places, it averages between $5 to $10 per gigabyte. MobileX, 1 gigabyte, $1.90. That's the cost, $1.90. Now, if you want priority gold network access, then it's $2.10 per gig. All right, that's not bad at all. Let's say that you opted for unlimited talk and text because you do a lot of talking and texting with MobileX, right? So $4.50, and maybe you only use like 2 gigs of data, so it's like $1.90, right? So your average is going to be like $5. A little bit more than $5. I'm gonna say like $7 or $8 for a 2 gig plan. Simple as that. Now it'll be like about $6, a little more than $6, a little over $6 for unlimited with 1 gig of data. It's totally up to you. And yeah, so people will be like, whoa, that doesn't really seem very enticing. Oh, what's up, Jordan? I saw Peter Addington's message on X talking about US Mobile. Yeah, I mean, well, the those two companies are really they really kind of bump heads. That's like a rivalry between them. So it doesn't surprise me that Peter went ahead and posted something about US Mobile. He's very vocal about it. He's like in that same realm that John Ledger was on with T-Mobile, right? Everyone remembers John Ledger from T-Mobile and how he was always calling out Sprint, calling out Verizon and AT&T, calling them things like Dumb and Dumber. Peter's very vocal like that. He's not gonna shun away from them. He doesn't attack them that bad. He doesn't call them Dumb and Dumber or whatnot. But he does kind of point out some of the stupidity in the telecom industry. And so that's why I follow him and I listen. I don't hang on every word that Peter says, but for the most part, in the years that I've been following him on social media, he's been pretty open about a lot of things that most other carriers won't. So, but anyways, yeah. So people will kind of going back to the build your plan. People will be like, yeah, I can go to this company and get, like 2 gigs of data, unlimited talk and text for $5, which is far cheaper than what the build your own on MobileX is offering, and that's true. You can, if you find some of these MVNOs that offer that. The thing is you have additional things on the MobileX side that those guys are not offering. Okay. One of the things is that you can regulate if you're on the build your own custom plan, you can regulate your video playback. That's one thing that you will have access to. Those people that join the $15 plan or the $25 plan, you won't see this in the app at all. What I mean by that is, let me go here real quick so I can show you guys. But so like right here, you can see there's purchase additional data, purchase on-demand priority data access, get an AI guided data use forecast, so I can have the AI do another thing. I would recommend doing that at the end of your build cycle. Don't do it in the middle of your build cycle. But data use history, you can track your history, you can join the MobileX army, and you can add extra options if you want to. If you click on adding extra options, and then and I know this is kind of hard to see. This is why I would prefer the app to have dark mode, but you can add those things. So like enhanced visual voicemail, premium caller ID. I don't add the spam filter and stuff like that because I have a Pixel which already filters spam calls, so I'm not going to pay for something that I already have access to. But here's the thing: if you're on the build your custom, within this menu setting list right here, there would be one for video optimization, and you can choose. You can optimize your video to be streaming in 4K. You can reduce it down to 1080p HD. You can bring it all the way down to DVD quality, which is 480p DVD quality video playback. The choice is up to you. You have control over your video optimization playback. And so a lot of other companies don't allow you to have that. They govern that. They will, like Metro will keep, no matter what service plan you have with Metro, they will keep you at 480p DVD quality video streaming. So anytime you're watching YouTube videos, the reason why, even if you find a video that was recorded, rendered in true 4K, you won't experience it when you're on the Metro by T-Mobile network watching that video, because it is throttled. The video playback is throttled, and that's the thing. So like MobileX has a lot of flexibility. It has a lot of things you can do with it. And that's the reason why, like I say, even if they may be just a smidge expensive than other MVNOs out there when it comes to like having the cheapest plan based on people's usage, there are perks. There are perks, which is the overall thing, flexibility. You have the control. You have the absolute control over what you're doing with MobileX. You can choose to be on their unlimited plans. You can choose to be on the custom plan. You know, maybe you're going to go out of the country for like 4 months and you're going to get an international service overseas. So maybe you don't want to be paying or have your bank account charged $25 when you're not even in the US using it. Like, you could use MobileX globally. They do have international usage offers, but maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to go with something cheaper, you know, so you decide not to. Well, you don't have to reach out to them and be like, hey, I'm going to be gone for 6 months, so pause my account, or, you know, risk losing your account. All you really got to do is just reduce yourself from like whatever plan. If you're on the $25 plan, switch to a build your own custom and choose like the cheapest. I would be like no talk and text and maybe 1 gigabyte of data. And that is $1.90. And that's it. And your account is active. Your phone number is still active. You don't lose your phone number. You don't have to worry about none of that stuff. And you're good. You're golden, right? When you come back to the US, go in and switch up your plan and go back to the $25 plan, or maybe you just want something a bit cheaper, and so you decide to like do like no talk and text, because really nobody really does talk and text these days, right? Like my kids don't even really use a smartphone the way that we use a smartphone. I'm talking about us that's like, you know, like 40 and over, right? We still make phone calls from time, you know, most of the time we rely on phone calls, maybe an additional text message here and there. But like my kids, like when they call me, it's always on like, they use Instagram. So they call me on Instagram. So Instagram goes off, video chat on Instagram. My wife calls me on Google Meet. So we're video calling on there. And, you know, my sister calls me on Facebook Messenger. My dad calls me on Google Meet. So it's like, I'm rarely using the phone app. I'm rarely using mobile phone service, you know? So yeah, but then if you have authorized dealers in your city, those dealers have a different set of plans that they offer customers. You'll notice here, the build your own custom plan or the AI guided model is not offered, and it's because they can't. You can't walk into a local shop and say like, yeah, I want to get me MobileX service. I'm not sure how much data I'm going to use. They wouldn't be able to offer you, you know, the AI forecast, and then you come back to them later and then pick your plan. Like it won't work that way. And it's like, people don't want to come back. They just want to get the service and go, you know? So that's why they have these 3 plans that you can only get at MobileX retail locations, or basically, you know, third-party authorized dealers. Okay, there's a $20 plan, a $30 plan, and a $50 plan. And these ones are taxes and, you know, taxes and fees included. Okay, that's the difference. Jane says, I use talk and text and data unlimited everything and social media because I like unlimited everything. I hate per minute service. Okay, and that's great. You know, that's what's going to work out for you. You know, now this is not to change your mind. I'm just absolutely curious, but list out how many minutes of phone calls do you do in a 30-day span? How many text messages do you send in a 30-day span? And how much data do you actually use if you have home Wi-Fi in a 30-day span? Okay, to say like you hate per minute service rate, it's kind of a stretch. Because I don't know, did you love it at some point? Yeah, I like picking at people's words because hate is such a strong word. Maybe you just like per minute services, and that's totally fine. And you're good with unlimited. Me, I'm all about savings. You know, people live in different worlds too, right? Like, Gene, you know, from my understanding, you've never mentioned you had kids. So I don't believe you have kids, right? So, you know, your financial priorities are different than mine. I have 6 kids. Well, technically, I have 6 kids. 2 of them are grown adults. The oldest is 21. Second oldest is 20. Then I have a 15-year-old, a 13-year-old, and you know, then my 10-year-old. I was gonna call him 11. So, in a household of 6, right? Because the oldest is gone. The oldest is, you know, he lives in a different state and everything like that. You know, family of 6. Food today expensive. Gas today expensive. Rent hella fucking expensive. Okay, and then, you know, mobile technology payments, right? And what I mean by that is phone service. You know, because there's a lot more creeps today who are more brash and feel like that they have a better chance of getting away with stuff that would go out there and commit some of the most insane crimes. So every one of my kids has phone service. That's a lot of money to come out of my checks. So yeah. So me, I'm always trying to look for a way to save money. And that's the reason why, like, I have no problems if I was to do a custom plan. Plus, like I said, most people today don't even talk. What was it? Coffee? One of my longtime followers will tell you that, you know, over there in Europe, they don't really even use talk and text. They use things like WhatsApp. They use things like sessions. They use things like, you know, what's that other one? Telegram, like those types of things. They call each other on those things. And so everything's like more data. This is why, like, I feel like that the one big thing that all these companies should do is, if you do have a set amount of data, if you're on a 10 gig plan or, you know, 15 gig plan, 5 gig plan, the one thing I think that they shouldn't count against your allotted monthly data is when you're actually making regular phone calls and you're using things like VoLTE or VONR. So voice over LTE or voice over new radio, right? Because yeah, when you are using Vonner or Volt, when you're using those two things with your phone calls, you are using data, and it is counting against your allotted data. Just like when you send an RCS message, you're using data, and it counts against your, you know, your data pool. So your husband paid 2 kids and 2 nephews who live with them for 4 lines on Verizon and their lines. That's 6 lines total. Yeah. I mean, what do they pay figuratively a month? So, like, the only debate that I stand on when people like want to question, like, why would I support MobileX, is what are you using in 30 days? Because I'm just gonna say it bluntly. If you're not even using any phone calls or text messages, if everything is basically data related, and, you know, you're on home Wi-Fi a lot, you're on work Wi-Fi, you actually connect to the McDonald's Wi-Fi, or, which is terrible, or, you know, you use the Wi-Fi at Target or Albertsons or, you know, whatever grocery chain there is out there. So let's say you're using less than 5 gigs of data. Then why the fuck are you spending $50 for unlimited when you're only using 5 gigs? That doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense at all. You know, your people can always tell me that, well, I just like making sure that I have the unlimited amount, but you actually don't. Because if you really were to test the networks like Carlos has done, they will kick you off if they feel like that you've used way too much data and they will label it as network abuse, and they will shut your account down. So you really don't have unlimited. But then I still say, why? Now, if you're using, which is the cool thing about MobileX, because they will be transparent and tell you, if you use a lot of data, they will tell you, we're not a good fit for you, because what we'll charge for the amount that we forecast you would use would be way, 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 way more expensive than our competitors. And they actually list their competitors, who has what that matches towards what the AI forecasted for your 30-day use. They will give you those options. They won't just give you a bunch of like, here's all of Metro's plans and here's all of Total by Verizon's plans. Like, no, like if their forecaster says that you're going to use about 70 gigs of data, it's only going to position plans from Metro, Cricket, Total by Verizon, Visible. It's only going to position those ones that meet closest to your needs. It's not going to like say, oh yeah, you can go on Metro and get a 10 gigabyte plan. Like that would be absolutely stupid and a waste of time. So yeah, if you're somebody that doesn't really have to worry about money like some other people do, because again, there's all different things, right? There's different class of people, financial situations, lifestyles that people have to consider. And that's where MobileX is really good, is the flexibility of being able to, work for this person and work for this person. People with two different lifestyles, but it's going to work for both of them because it has something for each of them that they can grab onto. Of course, there's some things that, I find a bit weird. Like here's another change that I wonder why they changed. If it was a change at all, or if they had to just strictly disclose it. But if you look here, the unlimited 10 is $20 a month. You get 10 gigs of high-speed data. Taxes and fees are included on this, so you only pay $20. Now, here's the kicker to this, right? If you're on the app version is basically $14.88. So with taxes, maybe about $15 to $16, right? So about $4 less. They're offering basically the similar same thing. And it just, basically tells you the tax and fees are included on it. You get 10 gigabytes of hotspot. You get it in store, and that's why. The store basically gets benefited for you signing up with MobileX through them. Okay, the unlimited 30 is $30 compared to the in-app version, which is $25 because it's $24.88. But taxes and fees are included at this, and basically you're only paying $1 per gigabyte of high-speed data. And then they have the unlimited, which is $50 a month, but now it tells you 50 gigs of high-speed data. It never told you that before. It just said unlimited at $50, and you get 15 gigabytes of hotspot. So now there's a little bit more clarity on that unlimited plan, which I'm wondering, is this the reason why MobileX is running a promo for the $25 plan through the app of, instead of getting 30 gigs, they're giving you an additional 20 gigs. Are they trying to see if people like 50 gigs better than just 30 gigs? Does it mean that MobileX would shift the $25 plan to giving you 50 gigs per month? Doubt it. But they might institute another unlimited plan on the mobile app side, because again, there's two ways you can sign up for MobileX. You can do it through the app, which is easier, or you can find a third-party retailer in your local area if there is one, and you can sign up there. That's why there's two different unlimited plans, or two different sets of unlimited plans. And I'm wondering if they're about to bring a 50 gig option to the app side, because there's not authorized dealers are not everywhere. Like here in my city in Phoenix, there's only two. There's only two locations that you can go to that you can literally get MobileX service right then and there. And these are the plans, well, down here. These are the plans that they offer. So for me, I signed up through the mobile app. So the services that they offer are these two. And I'm wondering if they're bringing in a third, if that's what they're going to do, is bring in a 50 gig option at a different pricing. And so I'm going to assume here, right? Like if the $10 plan in the app is $14.88 and through an authorized dealer it's $20, then I'm going to assume that the plan, if there was a 50 gig add-in, and so there's like a 10, a 30, and a 50, then I'm gonna assume that, I don't know, might be 44.88 a month. Who knows? But mind you, I mean, like, so MobileX is always trying to also change. I mean, they don't stand still. And I think that's one of the other big things that, I'm just like, yeah, like, I feel like there's hope for the service. They're not staying still. They're not staying on just like one type of plan for like so many years. They are trying new things to please customers. That's the thing. They're customer driven, customer focused. I know this because I worked for them, and that's what we were taught when learning the roles of being somebody in expert care. That was one of the main things, and you would get your ass chewed if you did not provide like high quality customer service. If anyone complained, the higher ups would come down on you. And I'm not talking about just expert care managers. I'm talking about big wigs in like corporate office would come down on you. They'll come down on your managers. They'll make them train you or give you a training refresher on how to provide great customer service to a customer, regardless if a customer is being difficult with you or not, right? We're in the customer service industry. Like, yes, they won't let anyone just, verbally abuse an expert care rep. Don't get me wrong. So don't think that you can just call up expert care or chat with expert care and tell them to F off. And you hope that their pet, would, be unalived. You hope that their bird is unalived and their goldfish drowned. Like they're not, like they don't want their expert care reps to deal with stuff like that. But they don't want their expert care reps to just give you this type of service, like thank you for calling MobileX. My name is Joe Blow. What can I help you with? Okay. You're not able to connect to data. What's your phone number? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat the number again, please? Okay, just give me a few more minutes and I'll get into your account and take a look at what's wrong. Like you hear that type, like they don't want that type of service for customers. Like they definitely want people to be upbeat and everything like that. Like even if you had like a terrible day, you had a flat tire, you had to get your car towed or whatever, they would love for you to be able to just kind of push that to the side because that's a personal thing, and to be work focused. Just be like, hi, thanks for calling MobileX. My name is Tito, and I am going to be assisting you today. And just give me a quick second here if you want to tell me exactly what we're calling about today. Oh my God, your data's not working. I am so sorry for that. Yeah, I definitely understand. You need to have your phone connected because you're probably missing some important emails. So look, I'm going to do everything that I can to get your services reconnected as quickly as possible, but also as efficiently as possible so you don't have to worry about this problem at all going forward. First, let me start off by getting your mobile number so I can access your account, please. And okay, thank you very much for that. You should be receiving a one-time PIN code if you want to go ahead and provide that for me real quick. Got it. Appreciate that. And yes, we now have access to your account. Let me take a look here really quickly. And has data been the only thing you've been noticing, or have you been noticing like maybe like your calls are a bit weaker? Has text messages been delayed? Like I'm going to ask you those things while I'm looking at the issue of what's going on. And then boom, I'm going to find out exactly what it is. And you just need to be reprovisioned. It's like, look, this happens from time to time. Technology is not perfect. So I do apologize on behalf of MobileX, but let me go ahead and get you reprovisioned so that way your data is connected. First, before I even start this process, are you calling me on the phone that's having issues right now? Even though that sounds like a stupid question, you still want to ask that because you never know. They might be connected to Wi-Fi and calling that way. And if they're like, yeah, I am. Okay, is there another number that I can reach you at right now that way? Because we're about to reprovision your SIM and it may cause the call to get dropped. And I don't need you calling back in and going through all that, selections just to find another rep because you won't find me. And I would love to take care of this right now. And they'll tell, yeah, you just go through all that. That's the type of service they want to give people. They just want somebody that sounds like they care, that's upbeat, because when I fixed that problem for that customer, they were mad in the beginning. They probably said that my services were shit. And how could I work for such a company that can't even get the basics right? Once I fix their data, it's like, oh my God, say I fixed it in under 15 minutes. I might hear from them like, hey, yeah, that was quick. Well, you really know what you're doing, man. It's because everyone's expectations is getting shitty service. I'm going to be on the phone for an hour because they're going to try and troubleshoot this. But you fix it fast, and it's like, whoa, you fixed it quick. Yeah. So they're customer driven, customer focused. So they're always changing, they're always adapting, they're always adding things. Yeah, they're taking away things too, because if not anyone's really using it, then why have it there? And why charge you for it? Sure, there are some things that don't make sense. Like a lot of us loved the $25 plan with what they consider to be fully unlimited. Of course, if you got that plan, you would know it really wasn't fully unlimited, because you would see in your data wheel you had 199 gigs, because most people never really get close to 199 gigs. So technically, it would be like having fully unlimited. But then, of course, they're at the mercy of MNOs. They're at the mercy of Verizon. And maybe Verizon's like, you can't outdo us. It's kind of like what I've been telling people for a long time about Google Fi Wireless when people complained about that. They're like, well, why are we only getting 22 gigs? They need to give us something better. And I would always tell people like, yeah, it sucks. 22 gigs is, not enough today when how much stuff we use on our smartphones requires so much data. But I would always tell people like, they're at the mercy of T-Mobile, and T-Mobile is not going to let Google Fi beat them in their own game. And that's the same thing. Like Verizon is not going to let MobileX beat them in their own game. And what I'm talking about is MobileX versus Visible. Visible can do these promos of $19 instead of $25 for 2 years, and or half off the Visible Plus plan, or 40% off the Visible Plus premium plan. Like they can do that because Verizon owns Visible. Like, yes, Visible has its own CEO, has its own board of people, but it doesn't mean that they're a separate company. It doesn't mean that they're a company that pays a network licensing access fee annually. They don't, because they are part of Verizon. The same as TracFone is part of Verizon, the same as Total by Verizon is part of Verizon now. They are prepaid for Verizon. They're not MVNOs. MVNO means Mobile Virtual Network Operator. That's what MobileX is. MobileX is selling you a service plan for your smartphone, and your service plan that you get from MobileX accesses Verizon's network, but they are not part of Verizon. They pay an annual licensing network access fee to Verizon to have access to Verizon's network. And that's what Peter is fighting for on social media and championing for, not just for MobileX, but for other MVNOs as well, like Google Fi Wireless. He's speaking on, for them, speaking up for them. I mean, he doesn't represent Google Fi Wireless, but the pain points that Google Fi Wireless probably has with T-Mobile, he's touching with when he's vocal about all these things that hinder. Like the last thing that I read from him last night, he actually addressed FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, and he was asking for some sort of regulation that makes it a fair playing field for MVNOs to grow and compete in this market when we have only 3 carriers, which is AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. Boost Mobile's not the 4th carrier anymore, and there never will be the 4th carrier anymore. That's just straight up honesty. And so, yeah, he's very, very much championing for that, to have some sort of regulation in place so it's a fair, equal playing field, right? Visible being able to cut their price down to $19 a month, they don't need to really compete. They're part of the Verizon mothership. They don't need to compete the way that MobileX needs to compete for a customer. MobileX needs to be able to compete. But how can they compete? If they, let's say, like I'm not going to say this is 100% accurate. This is just a hypothetical thing. But let's say Verizon came down on MobileX and says, hey, we approved you to give your customers unlimited everything at $25 a month. But, it's putting a lot of stress on our network. So we need you to reduce that plan back down to 30 gigs of data. Now, that's Verizon basically telling MobileX that. Maybe the real reason behind that is like, hey, you guys are getting popular and you're really competing against our Visible by Verizon and our Total by Verizon, and you've, pretty much smashed TracFone. We can't have that. Our customers in TracFone, our customers at, Total by Verizon, Our customers at Visible by Verizon are porting out and jumping ship to you guys. You're taking our customers. So no, that could have been the real reason why. They're not going to say it because that's anti-competitive. So yeah, MobileX is they're trying their best. They're really trying their best, and they're not for everybody. If you're somebody that uses a lot of data, you got to find something that fits you. MobileX won't be it, at least not right now. Maybe down the road they will be. Maybe in the future they will be, but right now they're not. So I wouldn't even suggest you even try to go to them, because your experience, if you're looking for like fully unlimited data, yeah, you're going to be disappointed. The last major change that they did, and I tried this yesterday, okay? So when I first signed up for MobileX, if you guys watched that video, you guys saw I had MobileX on my Pixel 7. That's the phone that I signed up with. If you guys didn't notice, in the beginning of this live stream, I showed you guys, my service is on my Pixel 10. I didn't have to contact expert care. I didn't have to send them an email. I didn't have to call in. MobileX, and one of their useful changes is that you can swap devices within the app without the need of expert care. So they're really trying to minimize a lot of what the expert care reps have to deal with, because they're trying to alleviate it so the expert cares can deal with like the more deeper troubleshooting issues. If it's a device swap, you should be able to do that on your own. And they put a little guide to walk you through how to do it. You know, if your data ain't working, that's what they want expert care to be focused on. Why isn't your data on your phone working? That's very important. And so, yes, now you can do a device swap within the MobileX app. And I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Just make sure I don't show you guys anything, that's personal. But it's right, I'm like, I forgot to bring it back over here real quick. But it's right there, Manage SIM. That's where you would go ahead and you would just, tap on it and you would tell them you have a new device. And then right there, you would input the IMEI, which most devices, it's the IMEI 2. For my Pixel 10, we don't have a physical SIM option. So I can use either the IMEI 1 or the IMEI 2. And then it just walks you through it. How to get the IMEI, you click next. And then what it does is that it disconnects your eSIM profile on your current device. And then it sets up a new eSIM profile. And you would just go into your device's settings, network, SIM, and then you would tap add SIM, and boom, it'll be there. But you'll also get like a notification within the MobileX app that has a QR code if you need to scan a QR code to activate your device. So that's just basically all that you would need to do an eSIM swap. Now I don't know how many eSIM swaps you can do in a month. Like US Mobile only allows 6. You can do 6 eSIM swaps from the US Mobile app. Once you pass that 6, if you try to swap to another device, it won't do it. It'll have you basically go in and chat with customer care. And then every time you wanted to do a device swap, you would have to chat with customer care until your bill cycle resets, right? So only in the 30-day span. And of course, that's not bad. I mean, people will look at that and be like, that's terrible. No, it's not, because people are not swapping devices every day. Like I swap devices every day, every other day, because I create content about, mobile tech. So I may be using the Pixel 10 and the Pixel 7, but maybe there's a video I want to do about the Pixel 9a. So I got to swap my SIM into a Pixel 9a. And that's where physical SIM is so much better, because you can just make that switch. Unless you're Metro by T-Mobile, even if you have a physical SIM, you have to log into the Metro app and you have to do the eSIM, not the eSIM, but the physical SIM switch there. You have to put in the new device's IMEI and bond it with the ICC ID of the physical SIM card, and then go through the setup process. Anyways, yeah. But for other companies like for instance MobileX, if you have a physical SIM card with MobileX, you just pop it out of one device, put it in the other device. As long as the other device can support Verizon's network, you'll have service. And that was a good change. That's a very, very, very welcome change that MobileX has done. So I give it up to them. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for like all things regarding MobileX, their planned services, whether you get it through the app, whether you get it through a authorized dealer. I would say, because there's not a lot of authorized dealers, because there is a map that you can actually look at to find an authorized dealer. And that's just going to mymobilex.com and look at the mapping and see what's in your area. But most people are going to be activating through the app itself. And so hopefully they do bring in another option for the in-app setup. You know, if it's 50 gigs, that's fine. Like I said, I use home Wi-Fi, so I don't really use a lot of data. So 50 gigs would suffice. Oh, and the last thing that I wanted to kind of focus on here. I've noticed this thing. I said this in the beginning, so now I'm about to cut to it. So this is how I know that anyone who watches the replay made it this far into the live stream, because then I should see some responses on this. But I've noticed, like with companies like Google Fi, with Helium Mobile, with all these different ones that allows you to track your data usage, I noticed something that on my day-to-day routines with my smartphone, I have a high data usage. Crazy thing is that I could do the same thing on MobileX, and I'm not even using half of what these other companies are saying I'm using in a day, and I'm doing the exact same thing. So that's crazy. That is crazy how MobileX and even Visible, because Visible is the same way. Visible says I don't use a lot of data a day, or not a lot of data, but the amount of data that any T-Mobile based T-Mobile MVNO says. Like if it's T-Mobile, for some reason, it always says higher usage. Like I'll do my daily routine and it'll say in a day, I've used like 1.9 gigabytes of data a day. And then on a Verizon based side, it says that I use like 700 megabytes a day. So it's like, wait a minute, that's a significant difference, you know? And it's doing the same thing, social media and stuff like that. So I've been always curious if it was a placebo effect. I know now it's not a placebo effect. So there's something that T-Mobile data calculation calculates that Verizon MVNO and prepaid based ones don't calculate. And I'm wondering if that's like, you know, the VoLTE phone call and the RCS messaging, do they not count that? I would really love to find out, which is why I've been on a search to find the answer. Why is it that if it's a Verizon based connection, you could be doing the exact same thing that you do, and Verizon side says 700 megabytes to 1 gig a day, and on T-Mobile based ones it's like, oh yeah, you're using almost 2 gigs a day. What is it? I really want to know. If you guys want to know too, then you know, plug in comment in the comment section hashtag transparency. And I know you've made it this far. If you guys enjoyed today's video or live stream, I appreciate that. Please do come back for another one in the future. I don't know when I'm going to do another one, but there's going to be more videos dropping. If you're subscribed to the Pixel Sideload channel, great. And if you guys found my third channel, awesome. If you haven't found it, don't worry about it. You know, it's just a place where I'm just like letting out my thoughts and keeping like, you know, a video journal of my life going forward now in 2026. But so if you found that channel and you subscribed, thank you. If you didn't find it, don't worry about it. If you want to know what it is, just look for my old name and that will help you find it. But all right, guys, gals, I am going to be out of here. You guys be safe too. Happy Monday. I love you guys very much, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Aloha.